February. It's a little series called Advice to Young Adults. What can we offer to young adults, to young people when we're now older folks like myself, that might be helpful on life's journey, not in a prescriptive way by any means, but just stuff that can help on that journey. And one of the things I've been thinking through is this idea of bridges. So, what is this idea of bridges? Well, the idea comes down to this very, very basic biblical teaching that what is happening is that God is changing our heart of stone into a heart of flesh. And think of that: old self, new self, shadow self, true self. Like, you could use any number of different words to do that. And this is the unregenerate self, the regenerate self. That might be more Christian New Church language. This might be our natural selves. This might be our angelic selves. We keep on seeing that journey said in so many different ways. And the space between the two is a bridge, and it's a bridge that God builds with us over the course of our lives. It's that kind of thing that God is doing. It's not something we need to, fret about per se, because God is doing it, and it's a matter of how much we sort of want to get with the program and work at building it too. And I think there's something we start to see it that oh yeah, we can be bridge builders. And again, it goes so many different ways, right? Because old self to new self, bridging that within ourselves. It also means bridging that distance between us and other people, which is fascinating. And so the question put out there to you, is what's the bridge that you feel is the bridge that moves you closer to your better self, the better angels of your nature? Is it a bridge to someone else? Is it a bridge out there to something with work or community or relationship? Like, what is that bridge for you? And the beautiful part of this is that God, as God constructs this bridge, an important theological concept is the idea of the as of self. So it's the idea that we've got to get that God's doing this, but that we get to feel as of self, as if it is our own and as if we're doing it. So like God giving us this gift, giving us the gift of a work truck. And he gives us this truck and he says, here you go. He signs over the title to us, says, have at it. And so whose truck is it really? Well, it's ours, but it's not in another sense. And we just need to keep on going back. Remember, like, oh yeah, that was a gift from God. We get to use it. Title's in our name. It's our gifts. We get to use it, but it's really God's. And part of that bridge, a couple ones to think about, and then I want to talk about parenting here for a minute. One of the most important parts of that, which we addressed, in a previous 10 minutes of calm, is again that idea of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a great pass-through. We cannot build bridges to our better selves. We cannot build bridges to other people if forgiveness is not part of the equation. It just won't work. So if you're feeling like you're on an island, maybe it's because there's a struggle there with forgiveness. And again, might be appropriate struggle with forgiveness, but just keep that in mind. So that can be one, forgiveness. And also for other people, that might not be as much of a challenge. Maybe your challenge is gifts. You have gifts, but you haven't quite found the place you feel like you can really give those gifts out there into the world. Again, that's a bridge of sorts. And can you allow those gifts and allow the idea to center in your mind that these gifts, it's really about a pass-through. It's really about these are God-given gifts, and how do I create bridges in my life that allow these gifts to pass through? And what starts to happen, either with forgiveness or gifts or anything else you could fill in there, is we start to really come to understand unconditional love. Because when it's God's gifts, when we're passing on this forgiveness, we know that that's a gift from God that we can pass on to other people. When we have gifts of ourselves, we can pass those on. We start to really be able to offer things as a gift unconditionally with no transactional view to it. It doesn't mean we don't have discernment. It doesn't mean there might be times where we shape a gift in a certain way. It'd be foolish not to do that, right? But we're just not as mired in the outcome. It's not as outcome based. It's with the giving, not with the outcome, that our focus starts to really hone in. Again, it really starts to hone in on the giving aspect, knowing that this is God's and this is what we're to do. That idea of we are God's hands and feet. So as we start to make that shift, as we start to build these bridges and start to see things shift across, one of the things we'll notice is we'll start to notice this beautiful part of spirituality for a second half of life when we start to shift. And that is this beautiful shift from willfulness to willingness. I love that. That's courtesy of Richard Rohr. And so first half, we're very ego driven. Stuff is, as we mentioned yesterday, it's all about more and doing more and being more and about more. And it's very willful. It's very much like, I'm going to will this into being. And that will take us a pretty far amount in our life. And actually, it's necessary to have that stage in our life. But then we start to, in our older years, we start to just be like, oh, much more willingness, much more just open. Like, okay, God, help me to see what these gifts are and help me to see how to pass them through. The bridge becomes a much more real concept because we're not just trying to build everything ourselves. It's more like allowing the space for God to do God's thing. And that willfulness brings that shift from willfulness to willingness brings this deep peace that starts to settle in, and we just start to feel like, oh boy, this is a different kind of peace. Doesn't change all the tumultuous stuff of the world, but it changes what's underneath it all in our hearts, which is an incredibly beautiful thing. I was thinking about that, friends, and this was courtesy of a therapist I was talking to who has a great perspective on it with parenting. And we definitely see this willfulness and the willingness. And it's the same with our parenting if you're fit the grandparent stage or you're just in the new parent stage. He said, what we hope for as parents is we start out and we are the managers. We are in charge of the business, right? And then we get to a point where eventually our kids fire us, which is great. And some kids will fire you at 14, 15, 16. Some kids may wait until they're in their 20s. But if you're a parent watching this, you will get fired. At some point in time, you're going to get fired. And you will know when it is. Trust me, with 5 kids, you know exactly when that moment comes where you've been fired. And then he said, but the compassionate hope is this. The compassionate hope is that they rehire you down the road, this time as a consultant. I love that idea, right? We go from being the manager to being the consultant, to being totally in charge, to being asked for occasion. What is your perspective on this? And I just find that so good, right? And it is really true. And it's, as being a consultant, like, again, I find with my kids, I imagine you find with yours, like they'll come in for a little spot of advice, like to use an airplane terminology, it's airplanes sometimes practice what's called a touch and go, where they touch their landing gear and then take off again. And it's a little touch and go, like bloop. They just need a little piece of whatever perspective. They may or may not follow it, and sometimes I think they're just doing it to humor their dear old dad, which is totally fine. But then it's blipping off again, which is as it should be, because they've got to build their own bridge, and they've got to figure out the as of self for themselves, and they've got to allow God to move into their lives in ways that are unique to them and aren't prescriptive of what a parent might think. And that's that shift again, and it's just this willfulness moving into willingness. And there's nothing wrong. I mean, if you really don't have a manager role with your kids when they're little, your kids are going to grow up and they're going to be atrocious, just so you know. but that role will change, and and it will become this other thing, which is more of a consultant, a beautiful role. And somehow it all goes together. I mean, that's the beautiful part of the bridge, is that it really kind of starts to tie everything together. So I hope that makes sense, friends. And so the takeaway for today is, what's the bridge for you? What's the bridge that you want to start to practice today, just in a small way, that gets you from the heart of stone to the heart of flesh, from willfulness to willingness, that helps you as of self, either to offer gifts or to offer forgiveness, that will help you build bridges both to your best self and to other people. So there you go, friends. That's it in a nutshell. And I hope that makes a lot of sense. And what we're going to do now, as we always do, is come in for a soft landing here at New Church Live. So what the soft landing is going to be is I'm going to ring a prayer bell. We're gonna then do a little prayer, a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and then we'll say hi to any friends who've joined us on Facebook. So with that, let's get a little breath in the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's see if we have any comments today. Again, I hope everybody is staying a little warm. I realize I'm saying that and there's somebody watching in California and thinking, what am I talking about? But it is single digits out here in Philadelphia this morning. So let's take a little look here. Rita, good morning to you. Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. And Teresa, my good friend, great to see you joining us as well. And as you always often do, my dear friend, great to see you. And flipping over here to this page. Let's see if we got anything over here. All right, no comments on the other page. So great to see you folks. Wishing you all the best. God bless. See you tomorrow here at 10 minutes or more.